Alright, let's talk about Star Wars: The Force Awakens. First off, this video contains spoilers. This is not a spoiler-free review, so if you haven't seen the movie or will get upset by spoilers, do not watch this. I am absolutely deadly serious. Massive spoilers ahead. This was a fantastic movie. Did it have its flaws? Yes, but this was a Star Wars movie. It was fantastic. There was great dialogue, there was great characters, there were no groan-worthy or cringy, cheap laughs throughout the movie, and there was a ton of nostalgia, a ton. And yeah, they kind of rehashed some plot points that we had seen in the original trilogy, such as a young adult on desert planet finds a droid that contains valuable information, Death Star number 3, essentially, that surprise surprise had to be blown up, death of the mentor, which is the staple of any first Star Wars movie in a trilogy. Are you a mentor-like character of our hero and you're in the first movie? Sorry, you're gonna die. So let's talk about some of the characters in The Force Awakens, some that I have thoughts on more than others, and then at the very end of this video I will talk about my complaints about the movie. First, Princess Leia. Totally felt out of the left field for me. The canon before this movie really built up her as a woman willing to sacrifice friends and loved ones for the sake of the rebellion, or ending the people that the rebellion were against. And in Carrie Fisher's interview, she said we'd see a bitter Leia. Leia didn't seem that bitter in the film. She did appear to have softened with age. I thought for sure the other canon was building up to this movie where we discover she threw away a chance for a life with Han or anyone else in the rebellion. She was still willing to sacrifice anything for the rebellion, or in this case, the New Republic. I don't know. In the other canon, it really made it seem like this was the path Leia was going down, and with Carrie Fisher's interview, I really thought this was the Leia we were going to see, and we didn't, and I was really surprised. So now I'm waiting for more canon to come out between The Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, showing how Leia softened up a bit, and maybe she had a kid, and that changed her and made her a little more family-friendly and friend-friendly than saying, oh, well, he knew the risks, come on, let's do this. I did absolutely love her saying that she could still sense the light in her son, which was the same thing that Luke and Padme said about Anakin, and that was a very awe moment to me. Alright, here are my initial thoughts on Rey. First, I want to touch on Rey being proficient in the Force in a day. Yeah, some people are probably going to be pissed, I can already tell, especially if they read the books and comics covering Luke's adventures post A New Hope. Luke really struggles to use the Force long after learning it. Rey seemed kind of insanely powerful from the get-go. For goodness sakes, it was a struggle for Luke to learn to move a wet noodle with the Force, and he had been trying to use the Force for months. And he owed that to the encouragement of a love interest when he moved that noodle. But keep in mind, Luke had a lot of doubt. He is very insecure about himself and what he's capable of. His fear hinders his ability to use the Force. And even with that, Luke still does some amazing things with the Force with minimal training. Now, remember young Anakin from the first movie? He was racing like an alien and doing something humans couldn't do, the pod race, as a child. That shows us that young, untrained individuals can have strong Force ability and skills without proper training. Yeah, we don't know how Rey compares to Anakin on the midichlorian scale, but you know what Rey did have? Hope and optimism. She grew up hearing about the Jedi and what they could do. She heard the rebellion stories. She didn't have doubt. She didn't have insecurities like Luke. When Kylo tried to read her mind and she was able to push back into his, it awakened something inside her, and she realized her potential, or the beginning of her potential. She was in a do-or-die situation and had no reason to doubt her ability. She just resisted the big bad. She had to take her chances. And then she beat the ever-loving shit out of Kylo Ren in the lightsaber battle, which was really surprising. But keep in mind that Kylo was also incredibly injured. They made a point of showing him bleeding and hitting himself in the wound, trying to get himself pumped up with adrenaline and ready to go and work through the pain. And they also made a point of showing us just how lethal Chewie's weapon was. It hit stormtroopers with full armor in it and flipped them over, and they were out for the count. Kylo took that right to the stomach, or the side of his stomach. He was in a lot of pain. He was severely injured and then fighting this woman. Also, he was in a crazy emotional state with just killing his dad. I also want to point out that Rey does know how to fight. I think I read a comment somewhere. I've been trying to avoid reviews for the most part of other people because I didn't want it to taint my own thoughts, but a couple people have called out bullshit that she was able to use a lightsaber so well, and I think a lot of people aren't aware that she knows how to fight. She has training with melee weapons, and where she's from, on the planet of Jakku, in that area, people know not to mess with her. They know don't pick a fight with Rey because she will beat the shit out of you. You're not going to best her. So she does have training, so this wasn't total noob goes against trained user of a lightsaber. This is a woman that knew how to take care of herself, knew how to defend herself, and if you notice the strikes she was doing a lot of staff strikes. And I think that they were trying to hint at that, showing her carrying her staff around like, hey, she knows how to use this weapon. And then when we saw her in the battle, she was definitely doing staff strikes and staff moves with the lightsaber, which looked a little bit funny to me, but I still liked it. I still liked watching how she fought compared to how he fought. So besides the training that she has with melee weapons, I really think that what helped her too was Kylo Ren being severely injured in a crazy emotional state, and the fact that I do believe that she is a stronger Force user, or has the potential to actually be a stronger Force user than Kylo Ren, which is just going to burn his little asshole, since that dude is so getting emo over not being as strong as his grandfather, and then this new woman comes along that just discovers that day she can use the Force and is really strong and beats him in a lightsaber battle. He's not going to be like, oh, I was injured, it was okay. This is going to burn his butt. This is really going to rub him the wrong way. Her using the Force to mind control the Stormtrooper was awesome. I loved it so much. And it really is a crazy comparison when you look at the first time Luke tried to use the Force to mind influence someone, and he failed so bad. It was so bad. He just is waving his fingers and it's not working on the guy, and he has no idea why, and he finally gives up. But we never figure out whether it was because the guy he did it on was strong-willed, or if because Luke just was doing it wrong. So to me, it was really cool to see Rey able to do it after a few attempts. But again, she had a lot more optimism, hope. She was put in a position where she was do or die, and she grew up on these legends. And Luke, you know, we saw Luke, he was very pessimistic. He was in a bad place. He really had a lot going against him at the point when he was really trying to use the Force. But I also think that this might hint at Rey being a more, maybe having more midichlorians. I know people hate hearing that because everyone's still mad about that, but maybe she has the potential to be a stronger Force user than even Luke. And for those of you that are upset that she was able to fly the Millennium Falcon so easy, she actually does have training to fly ships. It's not mentioned in the movie, which I thought was a little weird. They could have had a throwaway line when Finn and her are talking about, oh my gosh, you're shooting, you're flying. She could have been like, oh hey, interesting story about how I know how to fly. It could have just been like a one-sentence dialogue to let people that don't read other canon to know what was going on, instead of being like, wow, this person that was stranded on this planet knew how to fly a ship really well. Okay, they could have put a line in there somewhere. I'm very interested in Finn. He wielded a lightsaber with relative ease, but that's not surprising. In the canon comics, we see Chewbacca, Leia, and Han able to wield lightsabers as well with zero training. Seeing another character do it is kind of everyone seems to be able to use one in the canon. He was also a top-tier Stormtrooper cadet before the movie and displayed proficiency in weapons. As well, the First Order used weapons that are supposed to withstand a lightsaber and train to combat against it. Him being able to resist Kylo Ren's mind probe to me was very interesting, and I'm actually wondering if he does have some Force ability, maybe not on the same level as Rey, obviously, but there's a little something there, or it could have been his training, his programming for the First Order. We just don't know yet. There's a lot of questions this movie left, and we're gonna go crazy theorizing about this as more and more canon comes out and we just devour it and want more and more. I also really enjoyed Rey and Finn's chemistry. I hope that they stay friends and just, you know, the buddy bond, because that works so well. Don't throw in some love romantic plot. Just let them be buddies, hanging out, doing stuff. We don't need to go down that road. We don't need more side romance. At least I don't. Maybe you do. Maybe you're here for the hot, steamy romance. Kylo Ren, Holy Temper Tantrum City. That guy has some rage issues. But what is the dark side of the Force? We're told that it's this void that you keep feeding anger into, but no matter how much anger and rage you put into that void, it's never enough, because that void is a black hole and it just keeps taking and taking. And yeah, in return, it makes you feel powerful and like you're invincible, but it just always demands so much. So seeing this young man full of rage and anger and just going crazy, that's not surprising if he's turning to the dark side, because that is what the dark side is all about, feeding in that anger. Absolutely loved when the stormtroopers noped the fuck out when they heard him throwing his temper tantrum. They're like, nope, sorry, we're GTFO and we're getting the fuck out of here, not even going to risk walking by that room. I did actually like him better with his headgear off. He felt more menacing that way, which feels a little odd to say. I just didn't like his voice in the mask as much. There was something cheesy about it to me. It just was a little bit off to me, but I hear that a lot of people loved it from the trailers. This was months ago. I don't know how they feel now that they've seen the movie, but a lot of people seem to like his voice from the trailers, and I didn't. I like seeing that raw, angry child that wants to impress the granddaddy he never knew, and to me that's scary. How far is this guy gonna go to be accepted? As an antagonist, I think he is brilliant, and I think he is a little bit tweaked from the normal antagonist we've seen, and I really enjoy it. I like that he's tempted by the light side. He isn't 100% sold on it. I know he killed his dad, but I still don't think he's 100% sold on where he lies or where he wants to be. He's very conflicted, and he's being seduced by the dark side. And I don't think he's as evil as Vader maybe at this point, which I don't know, because I'm influenced by all the canon I've read with Vader and the twist up, just fucked up shit Vader has done. I don't know enough about Kylo Ren or what he has done before this movie to know if he's anywhere on par with Vader and the crazy stuff he's done. But for all we know, Kylo Ren could kill a puppy before he goes to bed every night. We don't know. It was really touching that Leia and Han named him Ben after Obi-Wan because they knew how important he was to Luke. That was a very precious moment, and makes me wonder if that means Luke never had any kids of his own. So maybe we just saw Luke train other people and then he went into isolation, even though there are some rumors still that maybe Rey is Luke's kid. So I'm unsure with that. I do want to see Kylo Ren, or hear more or read more about Kylo Ren's training with Luke, and then him just going off the deep end and slaughtering people and Luke's students and just the whole thing that happened with that. Hux was alright. I didn't get a whole lot about him except, wow, he really hates the New Republic a lot. Snoke, we didn't see much of him, so there's not much to go on. I did like how he valued both Hux and Kylo's opinions, creating a rivalry between the two. Poe, honestly, I was not impressed with him in the trailers and thought that his character was going to be a little bit to me, like I wouldn't care, and then I was surprised how I just fell in love with him. And I think really it was the bond that he had with Finn and how he instantly just had that bromance with him that really solidified his character for me. And I think he was a great supporting character, and I want to see more of him in the next movie, which undoubtedly we will. BB-8, wasn't sure how they'd top the sassy, adorable R2-D2, but they managed to bring on a brand new droid to the movies that wasn't annoying. I laughed so many times at BB-8's lines, or his movements or reactions and all that. They did a wonderful job, and they knew from the get-go, with all the merchandising for him, they knew people were gonna love BB-8, and they were absolutely right. They just spot on with everything they did with him. Just, that really to me was just bravo. And lastly, Han. I didn't get that heartwarming feeling I expected to get when seeing him, which is a shocker because I'm a big fan of him in other canon. That being said, Harrison Ford played Han well after all these years. He had wonderful chemistry with Carrie, even if Carrie has made some remarks about them pretending to like each other. He's a really great actor. Just his facial expressions before seeing Leia, you could feel how torn up he was about their relationship. His death probably wasn't a shocker to anyone. It wasn't a shocker to me. I bet part of him signing up for it was, hey, if I sign up for this movie, you're gonna kill me in this movie because I'm done. There's a lot of weird feelings Ford has with Star Wars, but that may have been a little bit better lately. But again, he's a great actor. When people are like, oh, he seems so enthused about it now, He's a fantastic actor, and he has said before in interviews, it doesn't matter how much you hate a movie you're doing, you pretend like it's the absolutely greatest thing and you talk it up, and that's what you do. And he has talked shit about other people he's worked with who then badmouthed the film in interviews before the film was released, and he's like, you don't do that. That's just stupid. So Harrison knows how to play the game, but I genuinely felt like he did want to be there, or he was acting like he did, and that's all I ask for out of that guy. He's in his 70s, leave him alone. He probably wants to retire and do his own things now. He's a fantastic actor, he's an interesting man. I let it go. What did totally break my heart with that scene was Chewie's cry. When he cried, oh my gosh, some of the best scenes in this film wasn't dialogue, it was reaction or just a cry. It didn't have to be necessarily words, and to me that is a sign of a great film when it's able to move you in that way without having to force heavy dialogue onto you and tell you how you're supposed to be feeling. His cry was, I just lost my best friend for decades, and it just was, oh my god, so terrible. Thank you, Abrams, for making me almost cry in a movie theater. I have a few complaints, but I don't think it's anything major. Number one, Captain Phasma was a letdown. I thought she'd have a bigger part, and maybe this is the Game of Thrones loving side of me talking, but I was disappointed by her role in the movie. She was supposed to be a big bad though, so I guess we'll see more of her in the next movie, maybe hunting down Finn and or Rey. I'm also a tad bit upset that nothing was said after Han died. Like, there was just nothing. I wish they would have said a little bit, and they probably will in the next movie, and maybe it was just honoring Han, who is a man of little words, but it still broke my heart a little bit. They could have said maybe something. Third, there was not a lot of risk-taking. The movie played it safe for the most part, but with people harping on the prequels, they wanted to get a solid movie out there that was definitely Star Wars. Having a similar plotline as the originals and a lot of nostalgia helped do that. They needed this first film to start the new trilogy strong. I'm hoping in the next film they take some risk, so then everyone can bitch about it for years. And lastly, also a little underwhelming to me was the end scene with Luke. I was really excited to see Luke, and just the look on his face, just his look in general, he looks like a Jedi Master. But what I didn't like about the scene is just the feel of it. It almost felt like they should have ended the movie as soon as Chewie and Rey get in the ship and they punch it. You know, they shoot forward, cut, roll credits, and then the post-credit scene is her climbing up the hill, and she sees Luke, and he slowly turns around, and she takes out her lightsaber, and she hands his lightsaber to him, and he just looks at her and looks at it, and then it's just done. That would have made people go wild. The end scene just went on a little too long, the staring, him having his back and slowly turning around. It felt a little excessive. They could have cut it down a little bit more, but I know they were just trying to ramp up that tension, and that's why they did it, but it just felt a little odd to me. But saying that, I am really excited to see Luke. He definitely looks like a Jedi Master. Love the beard. Even though in a recent picture he had the beard shaved off, so I'm wondering what's going on with that. But I hope he keeps the beard because I absolutely love it, and I'm excited to see Luke train Rey. So those are my thoughts on The Force Awakens. What was your thought? Did you absolutely love it? Did you hate it? Were you somewhere in between? Do you feel like they copied too much of the original trilogy? You can put your thoughts below. Besides that, make sure you come back for Star Wars videos, Game of Thrones history videos, comic videos, and more.